yes, now same shoe. Ah, hey, sorry. It's a mistake. I'm sure now the same.
A very old one.
Mm, like it.
Every time we try to get and look. You know what?
Only happy. And I'm
Hello guys, welcome to the Creative Design Experience brought to you by the Cheesa in KNUST in collaboration with the Learners Club and God Academy. My name is Isaac Onuma and today I'm here to continue our session on the color theory and typography. Today we'll be taking closer look at the typography basics. That's we'll be looking at styles and hierarchy. From our last sessions, we were talking about the element or the basics of what color theory. And if from that point, if you have questions, please leave in the chat sessions and we'll answer them. Wherever you are listening and watching us from, please put your name and your location in the chat sessions. Give us a shout out. Let us hear from you guys. Let us connect with you guys. We are happy to have you on live today, and we are very thankful for joining. Let's talk. What do we mean by typography? Typography is the art, the technique of arranging letters, characters, symbols to make our design very visually appealing and readable and display our information effectively. Typography is a very critical element of graphic design, of the print media, web design. All our web designs, all our graphic design projects, our print media, flyers, all of them have a special role for typography. So typography is very important. How we arrange type, how we arrange our letters, our symbols, our characters, how we arrange them into headings, emphasize and de-emphasize certain parts of the design is what we call typography. We need to understand what typography is. Typography is an art. So it's something we do, it's something we practice, a technique of arranging type, letters, texts, characters, symbols on our design page. Typefaces, some of the key aspects of typography we should know. So typefaces, what we popularly call as fonts, their names are what typefaces. So fonts come in different types. We have the serif font, we'll talk about them, and the sans serif font. Now, for example, Times New Roman, written below Times New Roman, the Montserrat font, the Helvetica. These are all typefaces that have different styles under them. Font that have different styles under them. Their names, we call them what? Typefaces. So when you are asking somebody for what kind of font did you use, what you are referring to is what typeface did you use for your design? What typeface? The technical name is typeface, but we popularly call them as fonts. So typefaces come in different forms such as sans serif, serif, there's a monospace, and examples are the Times New Roman font, Montserrat, Helvetica. Another key aspect that we should know about typography is font styles. So a particular font or a particular typeface may have different styles under them. Those of you who've used Photoshop before, those of you who have used Word, Microsoft Word before, you may have the ability to change different styles of a font, make it bold, italic. You can even underline it, give it a different style to make it to emphasize or de-emphasize certain parts of your design. Font styles, and we'll take a deep look at them as we continue. Another key aspect that we should take note is what? Line spacing. Whenever we are typing, whenever you are adding text to our design, we are adding blocks of text to our design, the spaces between one line and another line is what we call line spacing or leading. That is the space between two lines of text. It is important because it makes it what? Readable. It makes it what? Properly arranged. It doesn't make it too cramped or too what? Spaced out. And that is what we mean by line spacing or leading. Another key aspect that we are talking about or we are looking at is letter spacing or kerning. And just as the name implies, it is the spacing between two letters. Two letters. So for example, the word wave here, you can see there's what? A line telling us the sizes or the space between the W, the E, the V, and then the E. They are different. They are what? There are spaces between them, and these spaces are what we call kerning between two or the individual texts or individual letters in a type or a block of text. And then there's what? Tracking. This is another key aspect of what? Typography. Tracking. This involves adjusting the overall spacing between characters in a block of text. The overall spacing between characters in a line or in a block of text. So a whole block of text, a whole line of text, the overall spacing between characters is what we call tracking. And for example, when we look at the tracking in the first, in below it, we see the word tracking that is a little bit close to each other, generally along the whole line, the whole text. And then the second line, tracking, which has what? A very wider spaces between all the text or all the letters, and that is what we call tracking. Another key aspect we will need to look at is what? The X height, the cap height. What is X height? X height is the height or simply the height of the small letters in a particular font. So in this particular font, it's a serif font. This particular font, the height of the N, the height of the A, the height of the T, the O, the M, and the Y. These small letters, their heights are what we call the X height. And then the height of the capital letters is what we call the cap height. Is what we call the cap height. There's also the baseline. That is the seat to the particular type or the particular text that you've written. That is the baseline. Now, just as I mentioned earlier, this particular font has certain decorative or extensions at the end of the type, and that is what makes it a serif font. Serif are just decorative lines at the end of a particular text or a particular font. And then there's also, for example, in the F, there's also what we call the accender, and that is an extension above the normal X height or the normal small letters. F in this case is a small letter, but it has an ascender. The P has a descender. It descends below the baseline. And so these are some of the key things we should note about typography. Now let's talk about font types. Font types. There are different types of font. One of the fonts that we'll look at is serif font. And just as we said, serif fonts have small lines or decorative strokes, which we call serifs, at the end of what? The characters. So anytime we take a serif font, there are certain styles or decorative lines at the ends of what? At the ends of the text. And that is what we call serif. That is what makes it a serif font. What are these lines or strokes that we are talking about? That is the main line that a particular text is written with. So for example, this capital N below it, has what? A very thin stroke or a very thin line. So the whole text, the whole letter is written with thin lines or medium lines. And then the W has one what? A very heavy, has one heavy line or stroke, and then what? Another thin what? Stroke. So it combines what? A heavy and then a thin line to write the W. So when we talk about lines or we talk about strokes, that's what we are talking about. Is the main lines, the main line used to write a particular text. So serif font, they are fonts that have decorative lines or decorative strokes at the ends of characters. And examples are Georgia and Baskerville. Sans serif font do not have serifs or decorative lines at the end of what the character, and that makes them what more clean and more modern in appearance. For example, Arial, Helvetica, and Calibri, they are very legible on screens. When even they are very small, you can still read them because what of their lack of what of serifs at the ends of the character, and they are also very what legible. They are also very what easily noticeable even when they are small. These are sans serif fonts. Another type of font is what we call what the script fonts. Script fonts mimic handwriting or calligraphy, and they are very fluid and cursive. Example is what the brush script, Edwardian script, and lobster. For example, the font used to write script font is what the lobster. Very what calligraphic. There's another type of font called the decorative fonts. Decorative fonts are also called display fonts, and they are highly stylized and designed for decorative or artistic purposes. They are highly stylized and designed for what decorative or artistic purposes. They are typically used for long blocks of text they are not typically used for long block of text due to what reduced readability. They are mostly used for headings and stuff or decorative writings in your design. And examples include Comic Sans. So for example, the text decorative font, the main point, the point number 4, decorative font, is written in what in Comic Sans. There's another example, Papyrus and what Curls, empty. These are all examples of decorative font. There's also another type of font called monospace font, and just as the name implies, they have what equal spacing between characters. They are useful for coding and tabular data, so that your arrangement, or in tabular data, your arrangement can match. They are very what their spaces between each character are equal. They are very equal. Example is what Courier, Consolas, and Monaco. The text monospace font, the heading point number 5, is written in Consolas. Slab serif fonts. These are fonts that have variation of serif fonts with thicker or block-like serifs. So simply, slab serif fonts are just a variation of serif fonts. The decorative lines at the edge of font, they are just a variation of it, but they have what a thicker decorative line. They have a thicker or block-like decorative lines at the edge of the font. That is what makes them slab serif. Examples are Rockwell, Clarendon, and Courier New. These are examples of slab serif fonts. And then there is what we call modern fonts. This is another type of font that is very characterized by high contrast between thick and thin strokes. So modern fonts have a high contrast between thick and thin strokes. And just as we explained earlier, the stroke is the main lines that are used to write the characters of a font. So for example, the heading modern font is written in what? Century Gothic. And you can see a very sharp difference between the first line of the M and the second line of the M. The first line is very thin, and then the second line is very thick. That is what characterizes modern font. They have a very high contrast between thick and thin strokes. So they are what often used for fashion and luxury branding. Example is Bodoni, Didot, and Century Gothic. These are what modern fonts. And there's another type of font that we see often. It's called symbol font. They are fonts that are made of symbols, icons, and pictograms. And so, for example, the icons that we see under the point number 8 was written in what? In the font or the typeface called Material Icons. So I just typed SD and it changed into the first icon that we see. I typed phone and it changed into what? The phone icon. I typed camera and it changed into the camera icon. I typed Facebook and it changed into the Facebook what? Logo. I typed folder and then it changed into the folder icon. And so these are fonts that contain symbols, icons, and they are used for UI UX interface designs, infographics, and a lot of stuff. They help us to what? They help make our work what very easy. Sometimes you don't need to download icons from the internet. Having this font helps us to what? Quickly design our interfaces and make what? Infographics. Now let's talk about font styles. Font styles. There are different font styles that come under typefaces or fonts. A particular font may have different styles. And what is the purpose of it? It is to what? Make what? Emphasis within a font family. They are used to lay emphasis and they give visual effect. And so popularly we see that certain headings are in bold, certain headings are italic, certain headings are underlined, and then sometimes the body is in regular font or outline or italicized. And these are what? All what? Font styles. So the number one we'll look at is regular. So many fonts come in regular, or others in other softwares you see Roman for the regular font style. There is bold, there is italic. So certain fonts come italic, a little bit slanted. Certain fonts have the outline style, they are very thin. And then certain fonts are light, have the light style. Certain fonts have what? The extra bold or black style. Certain fonts have medium italic. Certain fonts have bold italic. Certain fonts are majorly extended. They have extended, or their font extend. They are very, I don't know how to describe it, but they have what? They are extend. They have longer width. And certain fonts are what? Condensed. They are condensed. They are very compact, a little bit compact, but there's space between them. They look a little bit slim. They are condensed. Certain fonts are what? Have the underline style, the strike through style. Certain fonts have what? The style of small caps. Some fonts don't have capital letters, and that is how they've designed that typeface or that font. Some font or typefaces are all in capital letters. That is their font style. Some fonts have the title case. Some fonts are what? For superscript and subscript styles. Let's look at font hierarchy, how to apply font in hierarchy. Now, font hierarchy refers to the organization of different fonts, of different text elements within document. So it is how you arrange or you organize your font or your text element within your document, within your website, within your design project. How you arrange your text element to what? Give hierarchy. And so most often we use variations in the font type. So you can use up to like 2 or 3 fonts just to give variations. You can use size to create hierarchy. So we often see our headings very big in size, and then our body or the text, the body content in what? Regular or smaller size. We can see sometimes we see our headings bold weight, or their font style is very black or extra bold. very heavy, and then there's a sharp contrast with the content having what, very normal or very smaller weight. And then we can use what, different font styles to create hierarchy. And then what is the importance of this? Why is it important? To create a visual structure that will guide the reader's eye. So sometimes how we arrange the text will help the reader to know where to start reading from, which is the main important thing, which to look first, and the other extras that he has to look at. It guides the reader's eye through your design, through your website, through your project. It does through your document. It guides the reader's eye, and it communicates the information very easily to the person. A poorly arranged document will often confuse your readers and make it boring to read. But when you apply hierarchy, you arrange your text element easily with variation in font type, variation in font size, variation in weight, variation in font style. It creates hierarchy and makes your text or your document readable. Makes what, gives emphasis to your work and makes it visually appealing. So here is a visual representation or a diagram that is showing us how we apply hierarchy in our design project. And so most often we see our heading bold and in bigger font size. We see our subheadings in maybe normal or just extra, like slightly heavier weight and what, italicized. And then we find that most often our body or the content is in what, light or regular font style and what, very legible under it. And this helps to guide the reader's eye. For example, for this situation, you will not read from bottom or the middle. You start because you see the heading very bold, and that is where your eye what, gets to first, and then it gets to the subheading and then the content. It's guiding the reader's eye. So let us apply what, font arrangement. Let us apply variation in size, variation in font type, variation in font style, variations in what, in text, in font text or font types to what, to create hierarchy. Let's look at pairing font effectively for different design project. Pairing font effectively for different design project. Now when we are pairing font, when we are designing a flyer, a banner, or a project, you are designing a document, you need to what, be able to pair font easily. You need to pair font. Now pairing font involves selecting and combining different fonts to create visually appealing and harmonious designs. And that is, we may pair a serif font, that is a font that has decorative lines at the edge. We may pair a serif font with a sans serif font to get what, to get a visually appealing design. So why do we pair font? It is done to establish hierarchy. So we pair 2 fonts, 3 fonts to what, establish hierarchy. We can also pair fonts to what, to help us convey the mood, tone, and personality of a design. We pair fonts to convey the mood, tone, and personality of a design, whether it's professional, playful, formal, or casual. So sometimes how we pair fonts will tell us the mood of what, of our design or of our design project, whether it is playful. So sometimes we may pair a script font or a decorative font with a sans serif font just to make it very playful. Or we may pair a serif font with what, with another serif font to make it what, formal. And so it conveys the mood, the tone, and personality of our design. Good font pairing enhances readability. So if you pair fonts very well, sometimes your heading can be a script font, but you need to pair it with what? A sans serif font that will make the reading of the content very readable. So good font pairing helps us to enhance the readability of the design project, and it ensures that the design effectively communicates its message. When mixing typefaces on the same line, designers usually adjust the point size so that X heights align. So sometimes when you are pairing font, you align the text so that you pair them in such a way that their X height, and we talk about X height, is the height of the small case letters. Designers usually pair font by adjusting the size to match the X height, the lowercase letters, the height of the lowercase letters, and this helps them to make it more readable. And so these are some of the things you should note. You pair font to make it readable. You pair font to make it to convey the kind of tone or mood or the personality of your design. We pair fonts to establish hierarchy and to guide the reader's eye. And so whenever you are designing a flyer, whenever we are designing an artwork or a document or a website, we pair different fonts. For this way, we must learn how to pair 2 fonts, 3 fonts, not many fonts. We are not looking to pair like 4 fonts, 5 fonts. No, minimum 2, maximum 3. You are pairing this font just to get your information communicated very effectively. Here are some important notes about font pairing. Effective font pairing often involves the use of contrasting fonts. So when you are pairing font, look at one font that has a very bold look, and look at another font that has a very light or decorative look to it. And when you pair these two, it gives you it makes your work more legible or readable. So effective font pairing often involves the use of contrasting fonts, such as serif versus sans serif. You can pair serif font for heading and sans serif font for the body, or you can pair script font for the heading and sans serif for the body. Font pairing establishes a hierarchy. A clear hierarchy of fonts to guide the reader's eye. So when you are pairing font, your aim is to establish a clear hierarchy to guide the reader's eye through the design. Is to help to establish a clear hierarchy, to arrange it very nicely, to establish clear hierarchy so that your reader can know where to start reading from and where to go through and where to end. Typically, this hierarchy includes a headline font, sub-headline font, and the text of the body. Choose fonts that complement each other. So when you are pairing fonts, you should know that you have to choose fonts that complement each other. Fonts that don't complement each other, you see, one font can make another font look very, very disorganized. You don't pair them. But when you are pairing fonts, you choose fonts that complement each other. They should have a harmonious relationship in terms of style, in terms of mood, and overall design. For example, pairing a decorative script font with an elegant serif font can create an appealing contrast while maintaining harmony. So you pair a decorative script font for the heading with a serif font for the body or a subheading, will make your design appealing and maintain harmony. Always prioritize readability. When you are pairing font, prioritize readability. Don't pair font just because it looks nice or it looks good, but pair them because one will help you make your work readable. So maybe your heading may be a script font, but pair it with a font that will make the body very readable. Fonts selected should be legible, especially for the body text. Always make sure that, because using script font or decorative font for body content or body text is not readable. When they become small, you cannot read them. And so mostly the body text or the body content is written in what? Sans serif font, because they are legible even when they are small in size. Maintain consistency in font pairing throughout a design project. So when you are pairing font, maintain consistency. Don't use too many fonts, especially for branding and marketing materials. Don't use too many fonts. Maintain consistency in font pairing. Avoid using too many fonts, just as I said. Avoid using too many fonts in a single design. It brings chaos. Before finalizing font pairings, it is important to test how they look together in various contexts. So before you finalize it, you choose this font, examine them, test them how they look together in various contexts. Apply them, make one the heading, make one the body, make the other one the body, make the other one the heading, and see how they look together, including different text sizes. Change the size of one font, change the size of the other font, and then test how they look like together. Test their colors, how they look with colors on them. Experiment and make sure that they look good together before you combine them in your design project. And when you look at this point, you take note of this point when you are designing. You make your work very nice, very visually appealing. You make your work very visually appealing. You make your work very visually appealing. So number one, use contrasting fonts when you are pairing fonts. Use contrasting fonts. Fonts that have contrast between them. One is a serif, one is a sans serif. 2, when you are pairing font, establish clear hierarchy to guide the reader's eye. 3, choose fonts that complement each other, not fonts that fight against each other or are very opposing to each other. Choose fonts that complement each other. Always prioritize readability. When you are pairing font, always prioritize readability. Maintain consistency in pairing throughout a design. So when you choose maybe 2 fonts, maintain them. Don't be changing them. Maintain them. Maintain consistency in font pairing. And then avoid using too many fonts in a single design. And then lastly, test them. Change the heading font to the body font. Change them, pair them, and see how they look together. And be sure that they look good when they are paired together, or very appealing when they are paired together before you use them in your design. Change their sizes, change their colors, variate them so that you can know how good they look together when you pair them before you use them in your design. And when you do this, you realize that it guides you to make visually good and appealing designs. And so for today, this is where we'll end our session talking about typography. Let us know that typography is very important. These are just the basics. And as we continue and begin our practical sessions, we will look at how we apply each of them. Typography is very important. So guys, let us take note, let us study them, and let us experiment with font. When I started to memorize font names, write them down in some place, because they help make your work easy when you are able to remember font and know the kind of font you want to use. And so let us pay attention to font, and our design project or our design work will be easier. I've seen people who can spend hours. I started like that. I'll spend hours just looking for the right font for my design. But if we take note of font and know how to apply them and even know their names, we will become what? Very efficient when designing. Thanks guys, and this will bring our session for today to an end, and I'll see you in our next session. Thank you and goodbye.